Let me bring some context to that. So Arsenal at the moment are 4 points worse off in the fixtures that they have played this season compared to last season. Obviously, before the end of the year, we go to Fulham, where we lost last season. So there's an opportunity to drag that back to 1 point. All the other teams that we've got coming up this season, we did beat. There's also, so by the end of the year, you could be 1 point worse off in the same fixtures from last season, which I think when you think about the mood at the moment is very different. It does rely on, as Clive says, our performances like against Chelsea building and getting better for that to happen. And also, at the moment, we have dropped 14 points so far. We dropped 20 by New Year's Eve last year. So if in these next 6 games, which aren't, we're not foregoing we're going to win them, we have to win them. But if Arsenal can drop less than 6 points between now and the end of the year, they will still be better off at the same stage than they were last season. And I think that's obviously the difference between Arsenal and Liverpool seasons, and I think Liverpool are quite fortunate to have had the fixture list that they've had, is that, and they still have to win those games, but Slot's been able to come in with that team, build up momentum, go into this tough run that he's got now with that momentum built, whereas Arsenal have had an incredibly challenging start to the season. It's been bumpy, it's been a roller coaster. We've taken hits both with player injuries and with points. And now the challenge is on Arteta to lift that team after this international break, treat it like our Dubai trip from last year, which we really recovered from and went on a bit of a run. You've got to treat this 2 weeks in a way like a camp and then come back and attack these next 6 games because you could change the narrative completely in just the space of a few weeks.
Oh, that magical Dubai trip. I mean, I would actually love to know what really went down on that trip. But anyway, we've obviously discussed Liverpool. Let's obviously just have a little chat about Man City. They are off the back of 4 losses in a row. What do you make of their problems at the moment?
I think they're similar to us in the sense that they've got key players out. Going for a 5th title in a row. I mean, I was surprised they got the 3rd and the 4th, and going for a 5th, that must have an element. I think somebody mentioned some of their better players are now getting to an age where, impact on their bodies and their performance is going to be a thing. I don't think it's as big a crisis as everyone's making it out to be, because those 4 defeats are spread across league and Europe. In Europe, they got battered by Sporting. They were the better team. They were actually the better team. They should have won that game.
Half an hour, they killed them.
Oh, they battered them.
Yeah.
So, and even losing that game, it's not consequential. They're still in the Champions League.
Of course, you say that, but I think we're just so not used to watching Man City lose.
We're not.
No one.
We're not. But I think that if they can be... What's the gap between them and Liverpool?
4?
Is it 4 points?
5?
4 or 5 points.
Yeah.
If they can be in a crisis and they're 5 points behind Liverpool, I think they'll take that. They'll take that.
I think it comes back to stability again. They've conceded, I think it's 13 goals, I think, Tom, you should tell me. They've conceded a similar number to us. And funny that, they got beat, but they didn't have Stones, Akanji, Aki, Diaz. They had Rico Lewis playing left back, Carl Walker playing right back, Guardiola playing centre back, and a young centre back, I can't remember his name. Simpson Puzzi, thank you, Tom, who is an outstanding young player who does not need to be exposed to this right now. He needs to be coming on 20 minutes, end of game when it's already won. So he's holding them together. He got run past by Gyökeres last week. And I feel for him. I hope Man City fans protect him because he's a top player. But they haven't got the stability at the back. Very similar to us in the last 10 minutes against Liverpool. Look at that back four, and when you have that stability, when you have that consistent choice, you can do a lot of things. You can cover a lot of sins if you're not letting in goals, honestly. When Nunes flashes one into the car park, no one cares when you're not letting one in. Do you see what I mean? And that's the key thing. When Martinelli misses a chance, we all cry ourselves to sleep because we've let a couple in, right? So then we questioned him and we want him sold, So and so
some want him sold.
And some want him sold. Thank you, Tom. You're on the online guy, right? and so yeah, I think that's where we are at the moment. But I've through my experience, I've learned that this is how seasons go. Liverpool last year were doing really well, right with us. They were ahead of us. Suddenly, their finishing went cold. They couldn't score, and they let a few goals in on the break. They lost some games or lost points in games, but they were totally dominant. They just couldn't find the back of the net. They were begging Jota to come back to try to be their best finisher. You go through phases in the season, and for me, because I know this, I'm not prepared to write off this season. I just want us to get to a rhythm where I can see our team again, and I think I start to see that against Chelsea.
I think as well, coming to a transfer perspective with Manchester City, they're actually a good reference point for the summer because while we lost Ødegaard and everyone was talking about, why didn't we bring somebody in, or why didn't we decide not to loan out a player who everybody said wasn't good enough in Fabio Vieira, or let Smith Rowe go, etc. If you look at the business done by the three clubs in the summer, Liverpool brought in Chiesa, and that's it. Man City brought in Savinho, who they effectively signed 2 years prior for their City football group from Troyes, when they signed for Troyes from Atletico Mineiro, I think it was. And they brought back Gundogan, and that's it. Arsenal went out, and as we talked about already, tried to strengthen their left-hand side with Moreno and Calafiori, who have had their issues. But Manchester City sold Julian Alvarez, who was their best backup to Erling Haaland, didn't replace him. For years, Rodri has been their standout DM. They tried to bring in a replacement in Calvin Phillips that hasn't worked. It's so hard to replace those standout figures. If they lose Haaland to an injury, they're going to struggle. If they lose Rodri to an injury, if I'm saying this 3 or 4 weeks ago, they're going to struggle, and they have. So I think that summer as well is a good template for Arsenal and Man City fans to see how difficult and challenging that window was. And you're seeing the impact on both Man City and Arsenal in terms of the big players that have been lost.
Yeah, I think you triggered something in my mind there, actually, Tom, because I think you knew it, didn't you? And I think,
I always do.
The issue is, take our front three. So we've got our front three players in Havertz, Martinelli and Saka. We're fairly comfortable with those. We can debate. We can debate maybe a couple of things. But the three behind them, in Trossard, Sterling and Jesus. So Sterling, lone player, come in, Reece Nelson money, into the squad. Is he being used enough? Debate. Trossard does well. I'm not sure when he's going to do well, but he does well. And then he doesn't do well.
Yeah.
Right? And there's no grey. There is no grey with him. Gabriel Jesus, one of the team's captains, 4-time Premier League winner, right?
Nowhere.
This is so when you want to look at Arsenal and critique us, we've invested, we've platformed people to be leaders in the group. When our skipper goes down, I want to see you. I judge people in adversity. Where are you? Where are you, Gabriel Jesus, right now? And people have bad games. That's not a problem with me. It's never a problem with me. No one plays well every single week. But there are times when you hope certain people will step up. And that's when you can judge Arsenal and say, Man City, they haven't got a Gabriel Jesus. They haven't got an Alvarez. They are running a risk, a huge risk. We have these players. And when other people go cold, where are you? That's my thing. That's my team talk now in this 2-week gap. You need to show you're not in the Brazil squad anymore, not even close to being selected. You need to show up because we've invested in you for these moments. These are the times we need to be honest as Arsenal people and say we need more from certain individuals while also recognising a little bit of injury luck and a little bit of referee disciplinary luck to get some stability back to allow us to get the results that we need.